Rather than lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. We are back again. It's a Tuesday. January is moving very, very fast. And of course, we're going to be speaking transfers. It is January. That means it's always transfers. We're going to be speaking about Lyon's astronomical price for Bruno Guimarães, and will Arsenal pay that price? We're going to be speaking Alexnder Isak, the agreement between the player and Real Sociedad that he can join Barcelona. Of course, reports claiming that Arsenal are closing in on that agreement between them and Real Sociedad for the player. Denis Zakaria, Arsenal want him in January rather than in the summer. And of course, we'll also be discussing the outgoings in terms of Lucas Torreira as well, who will be having a meeting with Arsenal to see that his deal actually gets very, 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 completed very soon. Hit the like button, people. Make sure you do hit the like button. 500 likes is the target, and make sure you also download the Mailbit app as well as register with them. Their link is in the video description. If you join them, you'll be getting a 300% bonus. If you use my promo code Cossy, you'll be getting more bonuses. When you bet with them. But of course, bet responsibly and make sure you do not stake what you cannot afford to lose. Let's get to the content. Let's start off with the Lyon and Bruno Guimarães. Now, what is happening at the moment? Arsenal are still in talks with Lyon, and Lyon have actually now responded. In the past, in the first around 2 to 3 days, they were not really responding. They were not saying anything about Bruno Guimarães. But now they've come out and they've said for any club to take Bruno Guimarães in January, it is going to take an astronomical fee. It is going to take something that they cannot refuse. It's going to take a bid that they cannot actually turn down. Their position and stand on the player's transfer is still the same. They would like to keep him in January until the summer, until the end of the season. In the summer, they'll be happy to let him go. They'll be happy to sell him at around 40 million euros. But in January, it looks like it will take Arsenal something astronomical, something really, really high. The demands of Lyon for that player is really, really high. What is interesting there is that Arsenal are really not scared about that. They're processing that bid, 38 million euros. They want to believe. Edu believes that if you can get him that money, if you can get that, if you can get that bid on the table, probably you could see Bruno Guimarães at Arsenal in January. It's still a very, very difficult deal to do. Among all the midfielders that we are looking at, that one is the hardest. Of course, we know how much the player really, really respects Lyon. He can't put in a transfer request. He can't push for a move, especially in January. And of course, how cautious Lyon always are in the January transfer window. They're one of those clubs that I really know, that really understand when it comes to transfers. They are really, really good in terms of setting prices, in terms of timing, when to sell, when to buy, who to sell, who to buy. They're just perfect there. But of course, I've always said that their transfer model is all about selling and buying. That is how they survive. They sell at astronomical fees and buy at cheaper prices. So Bruno Guimarães, for me, 40 million euros. Yes, it is undeniable that it's not undeniable that they can reject it, but they'll be looking at it. They'll take some time, look at that money, 40 million euros in the summer. Will there be any club that gives them 40 million euros for Bruno Guimarães? Maybe yes, maybe no. They will actually have to think about Jean-Michel Aulas. I know he's a really, really, really big genius in terms of the transfer window. He will think about it. He'll give it a thought, and in the end, probably yes, probably no. But the astronomical fee that has not actually been stated, because what I've seen from reports in France, they are just claiming that Arsenal will have to meet an astronomical figure. They'll have to table an astronomical bid for them to get Bruno Guimarães. That is just so open. That is so wide. Astronomical, it could be 100, it could be 80, it could be 70, it could be 60, it could be 200 million. What do they mean by astronomical? I'm still really, really waiting for that. But of course, as time goes on, the right price for Lyon, the right valuation for Lyon will actually be will actually be revealed. At the moment, according to reports in France, a deal can be agreed if 38 million euros is placed on the table. According to the transfer market value, he's valued around 27 million pounds. That is really, really low. I think they have not really updated it from last summer, because last summer it was around 25 million pounds, around 28 million euros. This January is around 38 million euros. It's a really, really young player, developing well there in the French League One, playing at a top level, and I think that is what is really, really important. That is what is really attracting Arsenal. A young player attracting a lot of attention in terms of midfielders, in terms of midfield, in Europe, but also developing at a very, very good rate. Especially looking at the Arsenal side, very young. They just need players that actually come in to fit in into the project. At this point in time, players that do come in do have to fit into the project. It's no longer getting the ball rolling, because at Arsenal, the party has already started. We need players to join the party, not those to start the party with. So, Bruno Guimarães, astronomical price. Should we pay whatever demands they're asking for? If they ask for 50, if they ask for 60, let me know in the comments below. Should we pay the 60? Should we pay the 50? If Lyon come out and say any club they want to take Bruno Guimarães should pay 60 million euros. At the moment, it is only as abstract as astronomical, but of course we will be getting down to it. We'll be breaking it down as soon as more information reaches my desk. Moving on, lads, is Alexnder Isak again back in the news, right in the news last in the last Euros, in the last summer. Arsenal really interested in that man there. Alexnder Isak had a very good Euros with Sweden, but again, the transfers, the transfer rumors really become very quiet because of Dušan Vlahović. We'll be discussing Vlahović in this video as well. But now it is back again. Real Sociedad are believed not to want to sell to rivals Barcelona today, because look, in the La Liga, on the table, it is really impressing. Barcelona are 7th on that table. They're really struggling with the likes of Real Sociedad, and they're now being seen as direct rivals, as direct competitors to the club himself, the club themselves, Real Sociedad. Sociedad do have an agreement between them and the player that the player will not be joining Barcelona. And of course, according to The Sun and according to El Nacional right from Spain, they're saying there are only two clubs that are really interested at the moment, in Alexnder Isak. That is AFC Barcelona. Xavi really loves the player. He really rates him. And of course, after signing Ferran Torres, you can see the picture, you can see the vision of Xavi, you can see what kind of quality he wants there in that team. He wants really young players with a lot of talent, really young players that are really mobile, flexible, and very versatile. I think Alexnder Isak for me is that kind of player. If you have Alexnder Isak, Ansu Fati, Pedri, and you have the likes of Ferran Torres, I think that's a really good squad there for Barcelona. But it's Real Sociedad are saying we cannot sell to rivals. We will be selling to a club abroad, and that is where Arsenal are coming in. Of course, look, I do not agree with with the talks that the deal is very close between Arsenal and Real Sociedad. I mean, it's just overnight. I can't really believe that. But what is happening at the moment, according to all reports that I've looked at, Arsenal could be close to an agreement between them and Real Sociedad. I cannot really prove that. I cannot really see that because I've looked at 3 outlets speaking the same thing. But what I can confirm there is that they are all picking the information from one source, and that is El Nacional. They're only picking that, they're only picking and quoting one source, El Nacional. Maybe that is why all their reporting, all their writing is so similar. Is a deal very close between Arsenal and Real Sociedad for Alexnder Isak. It could be very interesting. Again, is another young striker, another big striker. Already played 110 games in the La Liga and already scored 40 goals and 7 assists during his time with Real Sociedad. Right from 2019 when he signed from Borussia Dortmund, he's been a very influential figure there for Real Sociedad. Arsenal do need a striker. Of course, we know in January, in the summer, we will be looking for a striker. We will be looking for that opportunity. If anything opens up, if anything just manifests itself this January, we'll be grabbing it by the head. Of course, what I can confirm there is Alexnder Isak is also one of the players that have been confirmed by the Athletic to be on the transfer list of Arsenal, including Jonathan David, including DCL, including Oli Watkins, Alexnder Isak and Dušan Vlahović. Will we get him in January? It's a very, very hard deal to do because look, right now, if you are a Sociedad, you do not want to lose your best players. Still, I've already said that with every team, and of course, I know it's really, really frustrating when I say that during January because all of you are always saying, Cossy, why do you always block our deals? I'm not really trying to block the deals. What I'm trying to do is to be very, very to be very objective. It's very hard for a club like Real Sociedad, who are looking at an opportunity to go back to the Europa League, to go back to the Champions League. Of course, you know, with these small clubs, they do want to sell because they survive by selling, but also going to the Champions League, going to the Europa League, it also gives them lots and lots of money. So what I understand is Real Sociedad will be very, very careful unless a very, very astronomical figure as well is placed on the table, around 70, around 80. Maybe that is irresistible, but for me, it's going to be a deal for the summer. But of course, Arsenal, Real, they are making progress because if Barcelona do not sign him, Barcelona are very, very close there, for your information, are very close to agreeing a deal between them, Juve and Atletico Madrid. Yeah, I know you're asking yourselves how can they agree a deal for a player with two teams. Of course, what is happening is that Alvaro Morata is on loan from Atletico Madrid to Juve. Now, Barcelona would love to take the player on loan from Juve, and they have to agree a deal between them and Juve and Atletico Madrid as well. But that is very, very close. According to Fabrizio Romano, they'll be getting Alvaro Morata on loan. So that means their chances, their hopes of signing Alexander Isak are also very, very slim. But check this. There is also a very, very big possibility that they cannot sign Alexander Isak with the kind of with the kind of financial problems they have as Barcelona. They can't sign, they can't afford the man himself, Alexander Isak, because again, it's going to be a lot of competition. Liverpool there interested, and Arsenal can't afford to pay 70, 80, 85 million euros for that young lad. Barcelona at the moment, with the financial problems they have, they can't afford that. But anyway, we'll be getting that. We'll be getting down to see what's gonna happen with Alexander Isak. But at the moment, the Sun, El Nacional, and the Daily Express saying Arsenal are very close to an agreement. Is it true? Is it not true? I do not want to commit myself in this one. I'll stay on the wall. Moving on, lads. Then is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Al Hilal have actually given him a deal of his life. They have given him a contract of 3 years, and all is left is for the player to agree to join Al Hilal. Now, according to what I understand, Al Hilal really love Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. They would love to sign him, but the player is very, very skeptical about life after Europe. He really wants to stay in Europe. He wants to go to Italy. He wants to go to Germany. As long as it is Italy, as long as it's Europe, he wants to be there. His priority as Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is to stay in the Premier League and Europe, to compete in one of the in one of the best leagues there in Europe, either France or Italy or Spain, depending on where the opportunity will manifest itself. Of course, we know he's already been offered to a couple of clubs, offered to Juve, offered to Barcelona, offered to PSG, offered to Bayern, but of course there is no one that really wants to pay him. The beauty with Al Hilal is that they're paying him massively higher than we are actually giving him. That is a very, very big opportunity for me. Aubameyang, go make the money. If I'm Aubameyang, look, I'm 30, I'm 31, I go out there, make the money, 2 to 3 years, 4, 5 years, and I just retire as a billionaire. Of course, he really wants that fancy life. We've seen the cars he's driving, the Lamborghinis, the things like that. Of course, he loves that life, and to do that for me, he needs the money. Al Hilal are giving him the money, 3 years. Get that money. I mean, it's interesting. Of course, Arsenal will be doing very well in this deal because it's a loan deal with an option to buy. That means they take him on loan, they take away his wage burdens, and that means Arsenal will be getting around 10 to 20 million euros, same as the Newcastle deal. But of course, this one is even better. We do not sell to a rival. Is Newcastle a rival? Probably not at the moment, but probably in the next 3 years they could be a rival. We do not want to sell to Newcastle and aid their transformation process. We want them to get relegated. We want them to do as badly as they can. Don't give Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to Newcastle if Al Hilal is available. That should be the transfer strategy. But anyway, lads, that is also there moving around as well. So that is reported by Nicola Shearer, and the transfer checker are also saying Arsenal have not given up on Dušan Vlahović. like it has been reported, Arsenal are still very, very keen on signing Dušan Vlahović, and of course, he is still our priority. We still look at him as our priority. But they have also said something very interesting, that the player will be looking at Champions League. He will be looking at signing for a club that really has Champions League football or Europa League football. And Arsenal, in order to get him, to the club, they will have to pay they will have to pay 85 million euros with Champions League. Now, according to what I've seen, the agents of the player, very, very wise. They're looking at a club with Champions League, but they're also looking at the summer, because there, a couple of clubs will be interested and will be in financial positions to pay for the player. What is happening is that it's going to be a lot of competition in the summer for Dušan Vlahović. Is a very, very, very top striker. Unless in these 6 months things go wrong. But if they do not, it's going to be very, very rough. Real Madrid, they are wanting Erling Haaland. And of course, if Madrid take Erling Haaland, Chelsea, Manchester City, Manchester United, Barcelona, all those clubs are going to be looking at one player, Dušan Vlahović. And of course, we are still leading that race with a very, very slight margin. So the player is saying, if Arsenal want me, they've got to be playing at the highest level in the Champions League. Will we get Champions League? We are very, very close to going back to the Champions League this season. It is a season of wonders. We are really, really doing well. Can we get back to Champions League? Yes or no? It's a very, very tight question. But what I can confirm there, lads, is that Dušan Vlahović wants Champions League football, and Arsenal have not given up on the player like it was reported in the first case. And also in January, still talking about players that could join us, it is Denis Zakaria. Now, Denis Zakaria, a couple of clubs are interested, and Arsenal is very, very skeptical that if they wait until the summer, they might not get the signature of Denis Zakaria. I'm really, really scared as well, and very, very skeptical, because Bayern Munich, the biggest club there in Germany, are interested. And of course, we know if a player plays in Germany, they will have to play for Bayern. They are irresistible. They have a lot of quality. They have a very, very good manager now, very, very young manager. But they also have a very young squad that is really, really promising. They should be winning the Champions League this year, next year, or the year after, because they are very, very good. If you look at their recruitment, if you look at the age bracket of their players, you just see a very big project in terms of Barcelona, in terms of Bayern Munich. But anyway, Zakaria, Arsenal do want to take him in January, just to cut off that suspicion, just to cut off that that possibility of joining in another club. What I think is going to happen with Denis Zakaria, he can't sign a pre-contract with another club. He's already told Borussia Mönchengladbach he's not going to sign with them in this January transfer, and of course he's going to move. He's going to move on a free in the summer. So what is going to happen with Denis Zakaria? And this is really, really me thinking about it. I think Arsenal can sign him on a pre-contract, leave him at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and get him on a free in the summer. That is a very, very good deal. I mean, Arsenal rarely do such kind of deals, but I think they're so good. They're very, very good. Look at how Chelsea did with Hakim Ziyech. They signed him in January and got him in the summer. Yes, they did pay some money, but that is it's a very, very good deal. It's no pressure. Sign your player in January, get him in the summer. As simple as that. Hector Bellerin will be leaving Arsenal as well. In the summer, he's told Arsenal, I don't want to come back at the Emirates Stadium. By the time my loan deal ends at Real Betis, make sure you've got me a team. And of course, what is happening with him and his agent, they have already traveled all over Europe trying to find one club that want to sign them, and of course they have not yet found it. But of course, Hector Bellerin not really happy with Arsenal, not really happy with Arsenal. He's already enjoying life way back, he's in Spain, and I think he won't be wanting to come back in London. Of course, the fashionistas are there. Dua Lipa confirming that he wants to leave Arsenal at the end of the season. And Arsenal and Fiorentina will be having a meeting between them to agree. Of course, not to agree, because the price has already been set and agreed upon. But of course, to just finalize the move for Lucas Torreira, it is already done and dusted. There is an agreement on the price. 15 million euros is the money they will be paying. Fiorentina will be giving us 15 million euros for the man himself, Lucas Torreira. He's loving life in Italy. He's having the season of his life. He doesn't want to come back to London, to the Captain, and we do agree. At the moment, the quality we have in the Arsenal side, there is no way Lucas Torreira is going to be playing. Even on the bench, the likes of Alberto Lokonga are still waiting. And of course, we know Lokonga is a very, very quality player. So what I'm going to say with Lucas Torreira, this is a very, very good man. I'm going to say that the agent of that man is really doing a very, very good job in terms of helping his player. Of course, we know they signed for Arsenal under Unai Emery. Unai Emery really, really rated the player. With the introduction of Mikel Arteta as manager, he never wanted him. He never rated him. He never gave him a chance. And finally, he will be getting to a club that really appreciates him. It's the same thing with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. They're getting clubs that really appreciate them. They're getting to play with managers that really do understand them. This afternoon, that is what is actually happening around the club. I'll be back live at 5 p.m. We'll be discussing Alexnder Isak in comparison to Dušan Vlahović. And we'll also be discussing Denis Zakaria in comparison to Bruno Guimarães. Make sure you tune in then.